Welcome to the Soulful Success Podcast, where we're redefining what it means to live, lead, and succeed. I'm Kyle Dion, a mentor and guide for visionaries and conscious creators who are ready to bridge personal growth, spiritual depth, and practical success. Each week, I'll share honest conversations and grounded insights to help you elevate your life, not by doing more, but by becoming more of who you truly are. This is where ambition meets alignment, and where the next evolution of success begins. Welcome to Soulful Success. Thanks for being here with me today. In today's episode, what we're going to discuss is alignment and what happens when we are learning to live into alignment and the gap that exists while we're still learning to choose for ourselves. Because there's often times where I'm sure you've experienced this, where we're learning so much more about ourselves, we're trying to integrate it as best we can, and then life asks us to respond, and we find ourselves in situations we don't want to be in, where maybe we're eating a dinner we didn't want to have today because we said yes to someone already, and so we're finding that there's incongruence with the acting in alignment once we actually know what that means for ourselves. So this episode is really about what happens in the moment when the response is required, because that's where the growth is really going to be happening for all of us. So what happens here, right, is that when we are learning to live in alignment with ourselves, what we're actually having to do is break the chains of the conditioned responses that we've already established within our lives. Now, when you hear me say conditioning, that's just It's not a judgmental thing. It's not saying, hey, you need to change or anything like that. That's just the way to share that you were already kind of pre-programmed without your own intention behind it, so that you understand that you may be acting out of something that was like a program that was installed by somebody else and not your own. And so we're conditioned by that. And as we are working towards living in alignment, we need to uncouple, we need to decondition from that we've learned from external sources, maybe family, friends, schools, as we're growing up, so that we can actually instill the program that works for us, which is that whole overall alignment. And so because of the early conditioning, what will happen is when you're in the moment of looking to make a decision, oftentimes rather than acting in alignment, when we're stepping into it, there's that friction, and the friction really comes into our identity and the identity of who we were before and who we are now. And so there is that disconnect between that when we're starting to really step in. And so in that moment, when you're able, or when you're being asked to respond, is when we really need to be focused on making that choice. So a lot of times what happens throughout life is, as I mentioned, we get conditioned. We get conditioned to respond quickly. We get conditioned to make it easy, to comply with other people's beliefs, to go with what's easy. And that oftentimes goes against us. But until we can key into listening to our body and ourselves and understand what that really is, then we can continue to go along that cycle of following other people and what they've told us and what we believe is right for us based on other people. So this is one of the big challenges with alignment, is really deconditioning what you've been told and really living into what's proper for you. And so what's really happening in the moment is, when you're being asked to respond, are you able to respond for yourself? Are you shifting the authority to somebody else? And sometimes when we're asked to respond, right, there could be urgency, there could be expectations, there's social pressure, and that impacts how we respond and who we're being in that moment, right? Because at that point we're looking to maintain the identity that we've created. When we're looking to live more in alignment, we are going to have to go through a bit of an identity upgrade. And sometimes when we upgrade, we need to break things down a bit. And so in doing so, people are going to act differently to you. And that is the hardest part for everybody, because we've created the life that we've created, people, we occupy a certain role in everybody's lives. And when we stop responding in a certain way and we start doing things differently, we break that mold for somebody else, and then they are triggered by it, right? So then this is where they may try to pull us back and actually inhibit our own growth. And this is where it's challenging for a lot of people. This is what I call the crab in the bucket analogy, where I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, one of them is going to try to climb out. All the other crabs are going to pull that one crab back in. And that does not to mean that the people in your life don't want you to succeed and move forward. I'm sure they do, but they just don't know how to properly support you. And that's because you fill a specific role in their life. And so when you start to change, that causes uncertainty for them, and it's uncomfortable for them. So as we're growing and we're integrating into the alignment of who we are, we need to be ready for this, because there is the discomfort of actually making the decisions for ourselves, which can be very discomforting at different times as well. But then there's also the other side of it, is like, how are people actually responding to us, and how are we going to hold that energy when we are in the moment, right? And this is where it comes down to like our whole nervous system, our ability to sit with it, to be able to process the emotions, and to know that any emotion is valid in the moment. Nothing is good or bad. We just need to process it and be willing and courageous enough to process that, so that we can bridge the identity gap and bridge into the alignment that's true for us, that's true for you, that's something that you intentionally want out of life, not what you've been told is right for you in life. And so one of the things to kind of keep in mind with this, right, is we all respond differently. And it's when we're in the moment of making the decision, we need to be able to discern how we make our own decisions. People decide differently. Some people are able to have that in the moment knowing, and that's just how they know what's right for them. Some people have an internal bodily feeling, and then they just kind of know that that's right for them. Other people need to just kind of feel into it and take a moment to see if it's right for them. Let their body kind of feel into the decision. Some people need to talk out the decision. And so we're all different along these lines, right? And so we can't assume that one person is going to fit into all of these. You have your own way of making decisions, and once you learn what that is, then it's the practice of adhering to that and doing it the best you can. And it's all just trial and error, right? Like as we're going through things, we start with small decisions. It's maybe something like you want to have for dinner, and so we just kind of play along with that, and then we pay attention to how our body feels in that moment, and how do we respond in that moment. If we do feel anything quote unquote uneasy, then we learn from it. We let it sit, and we want to sit with that emotion and process it, and then we can let it go. That's what it's all about. And the more that we do this, the more that you show yourself you're confident in yourself, you're willing to sit with the discomfort, the more that you're going to show up for yourself, the more that you're going to have your own back, the more confident you're going to be to continually start to make these decisions for yourself. So it's really a matter of breaking down between one, are you responding to someone or an outer authority that is not true to you? And having the knowing between that, right? Because that's the first thing, the awareness piece we need to have is, are we truly making decisions in alignment with who we are? And if we are, okay, great. Then from there, it comes into how are we holding that space for ourselves? How are we responding when it gets uncomfortable? When we say no, when that other person wants us to say yes, and they're used to us saying yes, and then how do you respond in that situation? This could be, as an example, in my life, right? Because I've been going through and I've been really leaning into my own projectorness, right? So from a human design perspective, I'm a projector. I've been really learning and integrating this over the past 6 years now. And so I'm starting to get a better feel for it, but it's taken me some time. And like, even as an example, right now, I know that aside from creating this podcast for everybody, I'm just in a position where I need to rest. I'm coming off some big life changes, and my body was able to manage it well, but I know that I just need to kind of take a little bit of downtime before I move forward, right? And so old me, as an example, this past weekend, somebody's asked me if I wanted to get together and play Catan, board game, fun little game. And I love playing the game. It's a great time. It helps me bring up some of my competitive edge and just like the strategy. But anyway, old me would have been, yes, absolutely. Opportunity, let's go do it. New me, I got the invitation, and then I let my body lean into it, and then I kind of thought about it for myself, talked to myself about it. And when I realized in the moment that, as much as it would be great to go and be social right now, I just need to rest. Because I knew that if I was going to go out, it was going to be a late night. I wasn't going to sleep as well. It's going to impact my next day. And there was things I wanted to do the following day. So in that moment, I made the decision, hey, you know what? the best thing for me right now is actually not to go and play Catan and actually stay home and just rest, get myself ready for tomorrow or the next day, and then we can just kind of carry on that way. In theory, the making these decisions is simple, right? But in actual practicality, it can be challenging, especially in the situation where the older identity. But fortunately for me, I've been working on this, but for a lot of people in that situation, or even my old self, like saying no would have been a lot of scary thoughts. Oh, like I'm no longer going to be invited, or they're going to think things of me, or yada yada yada, whatever our brain's going to tell us that's a negative situation about that, but it's all untrue, right? They were all understanding. They didn't mind. I was able to carry on with my evening, just have a relaxing evening. They had a good time. Ran into one of the buddies next day. He didn't care at all. Didn't care in the sense where like my identity wasn't shattered. My relationship to them wasn't shattered. Nothing like that, right? They responded. They're like, cool, no big deal. We'll carry on without. And so these are the kind of situations that really help us to live into alignment with ourselves, and being willing to experience these different situations and the potential, like the feelings and the thoughts that may come with it, right? So the big thing that a lot of people think about alignment is that they think that it's about feeling good and clear. But really, what alignment is about, it's the ability to choose for yourself when a response is required. That's it. Are you making decisions for yourself, truly for yourself, or for someone else? And when you can pinpoint that's the crux, right? When you can continue to make the decisions for yourself, you are going to steer your life in alignment for yourself, and things are going to naturally evolve in the way that they're supposed to for you. With this, don't get me wrong, there can be some breakdown. Like maybe some friends may fall off, or acquaintances, or different things. But if that's the case, and they just weren't meant for you because you were occupying a piece of their life that just wasn't meant to be, because that wasn't truly who you are. So as we do step into alignment and step into our true self, like there are going to be some things that may happen along the way. But the big thing I want to share with you is that when you have the willingness and the courage to really to step in for yourself, to align for yourself, things naturally start to unfold in a way that life generates more ease, more joy, and you're not second guessing yourself. You're not beating yourself up as much. You're not having all the shame or the guilt or all the different negative feelings you're having because you went to the party when you didn't want to go to the party, or you accept that invitation to go to wherever it is and you didn't want to be there, right? These are the things that are important. Just because we get an invitation doesn't mean we need to be there. We need to go where our energy wants to go, and we need to listen to our energy. And so when we're going through this whole integrating alignment, right? That's what I'm talking about. We can learn about ourselves, understand who we are, but the integration piece is the part that takes time. And this is where maybe, at least for me, it took I white knuckled it for a while trying to do it myself. Then I figured I need to get some assistance, just as a sounding board to make sure I'm doing things the right way. Well, am I making mistakes, right? Because sometimes that's what the mind's going to tell you, and we want to make sure that we're not latching onto that, right? Because remember, our mind is not built to thrive. Our mind is built to survive. So what that means is that really it's our mind is looking for threats to our environment and trying to keep us small and safe. So we need to override that to really thrive in life. And I'll jump into that probably in another episode as well too. But for right now, I think it's just good just to kind of key in on the piece that alignment isn't about feeling good, always choosing the right decisions. It's really about the ability to choose for yourself when you need to make a decision. And can you hold that internally with yourself? That is the growth. That is the integration piece. Every time we do this, we strengthen our decision-making muscles in ourselves, and we get more confident with the process. So just a few other ways that this might be showing up, right? Maybe, as I've been sharing, this could be as simple as saying yes when you want to say no. Maybe when you're finding yourself in places or commitments that you didn't want to be in. It could be overcommitting yourself to work, social obligations, family obligations, that sort of thing as well. And even just like by not feeling good about your response after the fact. If you say yes and you kind of know that you don't feel good about it, these are all signs, right? These are all signs. And that's the one thing that I want to leave you with today, right? When we're picking up on these things, just remember they are signs, they are clues, they're helping us to align, right? As we're talking about alignment, we want to be really very attentive to the emotions that we have, because our emotions are signals as well too. So when you're making decisions, do you feel okay about the decision? Do you feel bad? Do you feel great? Like, these are things to key into, because those are all your body telling you what's right for you. So I just want to remind you here that if you're sensing that this is going on, nothing has gone wrong. You're just starting to awaken yourself, bring more awareness to how life has steered you in a certain direction, and you are getting back to the driver's seat, and you're gaining control of the wheel right now. That's what it is. That's all. So this is something that we want to test over and over again. As you start to make those decisions more for yourself, they will get easier and easier, and then you're going to start to know what's right for you. So really, the alignment piece is your ability to choose for yourself when you're asked to respond to life. And how are we doing that, right? So there's multiple different ways we can do this. Looking into your human design is a great way of understanding how you make your right decisions, what's true for you, and that sort of thing. And finally here, as we're closing out today, I just want to remind you that when you are tested to live in alignment with yourself, and you don't make the choice that's the alignment choice, quote unquote, your alignment, your growth, it doesn't disappear. Nothing like that is happening. It's just you're just getting tested on it, right? That's what it is each time an opportunity arises, it's an opportunity for you to test yourself, your resolve, your willingness to choose for yourself. And that's really what this is all about. It's about you being able to live the life that you want by being courageous enough to live into the life that's right for you, by being able to choose what's best for yourself. If something resonated with you today, great, sit with it. There's nothing you need to do with it right now. If you think that someone else might be benefited from this, let you know, great, share it with them. Otherwise, I just hope you have a great day. Before you go, I want to invite you to slow down for a moment and notice what stood out for you in this episode. There's nothing to do with it, no insight to apply, no conclusion to reach. Just notice what stayed with you. A phrase, a feeling, or a moment that felt familiar in your body. Sometimes the most important shifts don't happen through action, but through allowing something to be seen and felt. Thanks for taking this time for yourself. I'll see you next time.